Hey, what is up, mortals? It is AC here, and before we get into today's video, there's something I'd like to say. I'd like to let you all know that we have a merch store. Some of the items in it are only available for a limited amount of time, so if you're interested, go into the description and check it out. Each purchase helps us make more content. Secondly, if this video hits 300 likes by the end of the week, we will continue this what if. Thirdly, if you didn't know, only 41.3% of you guys are subscribed to us. So please hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon. Now, with that out of the way, let's get into the story. Midnight's explanation of the cavalry battle ended, and chaos ensued. Everyone ran around yelling at each other and created large groups in attempts to try and get on a team or persuade others to join their team. It seemed like everyone was trying to avoid Izuku at first. As he looked around, almost all his classmates had turned away from him. Minoru, on the other hand, ran straight into Izuku's leg. He could feel his pant leg getting wet from the... Hey, what is up, mortals? It is AC here, and before we get into today's video, there's something I'd like to say. I'd like to let you all know that we have a merch store. Some of the items in it are only available for a limited amount of time, so if you're interested, go into the description and check it out. Each purchase helps us make more content. Secondly, if this video hits 300 likes by the end of the week, we will continue this what if. Thirdly, if you didn't know, only 41.3% of you guys are subscribed to us. So please hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon. Now, with that out of the way, let's get into the story. Midnight's explanation of the cavalry battle ended, and chaos ensued. Everyone ran around yelling at each other and created large groups in attempts to try and get on a team or persuade others to join their team. It seemed like everyone was trying to avoid Izuku at first. As he looked around, almost all his classmates had turned away from him. Minoru, on the other hand, ran straight into Izuku's leg. He could feel his pant leg getting wet from the other boy's tears. Midoriya, I tried to team up with some girls, but will you team up with me? Mineta blubbered out as he turned his head up to his fellow hero in training. His tears were accompanied by bloodshot eyes, snot running down his face, and an ugly, desperate expression. After contemplating his new friend's proposal, Izuku gave a slight nod and smile. All right, he complied. Not too many people should know about your quirk since you just got back. And Kacchan didn't bother going over my notes on it either. We can use that to our advantage. Their third member approached as the two began to discuss a basic game plan. Ochako lightly jogged towards the two teens. There was a light hop in her step that caused her chestnut brown bob to bounce. As she waved to them, her signature infectious smile grew brighter and more contagious the closer she got. Izuku couldn't help but return her smile. Hey, Deku! Team up with me! She balled her fists and slightly pumped her arms in front of her out of excitement as she spoke. Uraraka, you're perfect. Just the girl I want. The hidden meaning in Izuku's words went completely unnoticed by him. Ochako had only heard the potential implications such a phrase could have and backed away a few steps as her rosy cheeks were set aflame. Wait, no, it's not like that. That's not... Her words kept getting stuck in her throat and she couldn't think clearly. In an attempt to hide the growing embarrassment on her face, she flailed her arms about. All right, Izuku interrupted Ochako's monologue, seemingly unaware of what was going through her mind. The three of us are a good start, but if we can get Aoyama on our team... Team up with me, Mr. First Place! A new voice ruptured the team's eardrums. Their attention was brought to a busty girl with thick, marvelous colored hair and golden eyes with crosshairs for pupils. If the technology strapped to her body didn't make her stand out, her behavior certainly did. The girl was somehow able to sneak up to the group and get straight in Izuku's face and invade his personal space. Two vastly different uncomfortable looks quickly found their way onto Izuku and Ochako's faces, seeing how close this newcomer was. The 10 million point holder backed away from his new potential teammate and defensively put his hands out in front of him. Whoa, too close. The girl seemed to ignore Izuku's comment and introduced herself. Her name was Mei Hatsume. She was in the support class, and the group quickly deduced that she affectionately called her inventions babies. After she started showing off her babies to Izuku and made her sales pitch, the two of them began frantically talking about heroes. Ochako had stopped freaking out when Izuku had interrupted her, but seeing the display between him and Mei gave her more distress. Minoru's offhand comments about their green and pink-haired teammates hooking up weren't helping to ease her either. The situation didn't last long though, and they quickly organized their plan. Starting off with 10,155 points ensured a clean victory, assuming they survived the round. The other teams would be gunning for them, so they decided on a defensive strategy. If things got messy, they had a handful of offensive options in reserve. Their composition had Minoru as the head, Izuku as the front horse, and Ochako and Mei as their rear horses. Ochako wore huge metal boots, and their rider had a metal pack strapped to his back. The anticipation built as midnight called for the beginning of the match. Team Mineta braced themselves. Immediately, Team Hagakure and a team with a boy from Class 1B that fought Bakugo flanked them on each side. Before the green stallion and the two mares could get their rider to safety, they sank into the ground. Izuku started barking orders to the rest of his team. The girls braced themselves, and Minoru pressed a button that was connected to his metal pack. Two small flames lit from the bottom of their jetpack, and after a short gurgling sound from the viscous ground, they were back in the air. Kyoka sent one of her earphone jack towards the now airborne group. With another shot from Izuku, Minoru sent an onslaught of his sticky balls at the incoming attack from Team Hagakure. In the process, he stuck Kyoka's earphone jacks to the ground. After they landed, the team of 1B students was quickly dispatched similarly. The game got more dangerous once they touched down, though. Mezzo was in hot pursuit of them. Team Mineta made a run for it, but their efforts proved futile as Dark Shadow rocketed out from Mezzo's arms and closed the distance. Before the bird-shaped shadow could grab the winning headband, a blinding white light consumed the two teams' vision. The loud, crackling boom that accompanied the blinding light indicated precisely who it was. Once their senses were regained, Dark Shadow was gone, and Team Bakugo was booking it with a 10 million point headband. Katsuki waved his new trophy around in his hand before tying it around his neck. Izuku was pissed. The familiar crackle of One For All erupted from the Emerald Eye boy's body. Before we get back into the story, I would like to say that we've got a second channel called Anime Deep Dive. Anime Deep Dive goes over the hard facts of the anime presented. Now, in case you guys didn't know, we have a third channel called Anime Theory. Anime Theory mainly focuses on a large variety of mind-boggling anime theories. If you're interested in content like this, please go check the description below or click the eye icon in the top right corner. Now, with that out of the way, let's get back into the story. We're going after Kacchan! Take off! Now! The two mares and the rider nodded in agreement with Izuku. Thanks to the help of Ochako's quirk and Mei's jetpack, the leap past Team Bakugo was exponentially easier. Green lightning arced past Katsuki's head, and a moment later, Team Mineta was standing a few feet in front of them with the 10 million headband back in their possession. With another shot from Izuku prompting him, Minoru surrounded his team with the sticky balls. The two teams stared each other down. Neither was stupid enough to underestimate the other. With the ground around Team Mineta being a death sentence, they were stuck at a stalemate. Katsuki knew that if he blasted himself over the minefield of sticky balls, Izuku and his team would make sure he would miss and crash into the ground. As each side contemplated what to do, the halfway point was announced. Neither was able to resume the battle, however, as a third team ran past and stole Katsuki's headband. Time seemed to stand still momentarily for both teams. Neither one was able to believe what happened. Izuku burst into laughter as Katsuki gave chase to the perpetrators. Team Mineta seemed to be in the clear, as most of the other groups didn't want to risk getting stuck in the trap they set. Their peace didn't last long, however, as Team Todoroki and Team Tokoyami pincered them. Dark Shadow once again attempted to get close to them, and Shoto started freezing the area around them. Denki stunned the other groups as Shoto did his part to freeze the other teams and grab a few headbands. Team Mineta escaped into the air for a third time, as their heterochromatic threat froze Mezzo in place. Their game of cat and mouse quickly took over the entire field and forced the other participants to steer clear. With less than 8 minutes left of the round, the two teams finally confronted each other head-on. Mei's jetpack stopped working, and they couldn't outrun the competition forever with Ida as the front horse. Taking the opportunity to block off any other teams from interfering, Shoto created a smaller ring in the arena before confronting Team Mineta. For a strenuous 5 minutes, neither side seemed to be able to gain the upper hand. There was less than 3 minutes left before the event was over, and Team Todoroki was getting desperate. Izuku and the others stayed on guard as they watched their opponents. Tenya was clearly planning something with Shoto. As a precaution, Izuku activated One For All and told Minoru to coat the ground with his balls. With seemingly adequate countermeasures in place, they awaited the opponent's move. Neither team moved until the last minute was announced. Team Todoroki seemed to disappear before everyone's eyes. In response, Izuku instinctively activated his Sharingan, only for a moment. The feeling of One For All worked almost like a security blanket, keeping his oncoming panic attack at bay temporarily. He was able to easily follow Shoto with his eyes. Tenya would have been just as well off casually walking up to them at this point. As the two front horses neared each other, they made eye contact. Everything seemed to be moving in slow motion for Izuku. Tenya stopped moving, and his quirk kicked into high gear. His entire team tumbled over him and got stuck in Minoru's trap. Once they were safe, Izuku turned off his quirk. It might have only been 30 seconds, but it felt much longer for the boy, and he had reached his limit. any longer and he would have gotten into a dangerous headspace that he dares not to think about. After taking some deep breaths, he was mostly grounded. By the time he was done, President Mike had announced the end of the event and the team placements. As soon as it was over, Team Mineta disassembled itself. They had gotten first place, followed by Shoto, Katsuki, and someone with the last name Shinso. Izuku wasn't listening to the announcements though. He still felt too on edge, like one wrong move and he might end up having an attack. The only one of his teammates to notice anything, however, was Ochako. The students dispersed into different groups and enjoyed their leisure time between now and the final round. Before anyone could approach him, Izuku walked off to be alone. Ochako watched him walk off for a while before giving chase. She didn't know what happened in the last minute of the cavalry battle, but she knew it was bothering him. Eventually, she found herself in a quiet hallway, away from everyone else, and having just lost sight of her green-haired friend. She made one last turn and was greeted by the boy she was looking for, sitting alone on the floor, eyes to an adjacent wall, seemingly doing controlled breathing. Worry quickly took control of her.
Deku!
She kept her voice soft, just above a whisper.
Is something wrong? You ran off right after the cavalry battle was over, and I was worried. What are you doing?
Izuku jolted slightly when he first heard her voice, but quickly eased as the soothing sound of it continued. He looked up at her and met her brows scrunched upwards in a slightly parted frown where a signature smile was usually placed. Guilt slapped him across the face. The last thing he wanted was to ruin someone else's mood, especially not one of his close friends.
I'm fine, Uraraka. It's nothing.
The real aftermath of the USJ attack was finally revealed. It was an uncomfortable but necessary conversation for the two friends. After a short talk and some